With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown. Our top stories. Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew provides critical update on health services and treasury matters. St. Kitts and Nevis advances airport expansion and tourism outreach to the United Kingdom. Nevis government advances small business support efforts. Internationally, Thai-Cambodian ceasefire offers hope, but wounds from conflict remain. Now, the details. During a recent sitting of the National Assembly, Prime Minister and Minister of Health and Finance, the Honourable Dr. Terence Drew delivered an update regarding the state of health services, particularly focusing on the ambulance fleet, enhancements to emergency response, and vital information on Treasury operations. Dr. Drew began by addressing the much-anticipated arrival of new ambulances for St. Kitts.
We have on order 9 ambulances. These ambulances should have arrived already. However, our agent, TDC, a local company, has indicated that because of the Ukraine war and supply chain issues, there is a bit of a delay in getting the ambulances.
He further explained that these vehicles, which must be custom built to the country's specifications, remain on track despite setbacks, with expected arrival slated for November. In the meantime, 2 ambulances are expected imminently, anticipated to arrive by the end of July.
As we have been told, we have already received the necessary information from the brokers and so forth about those ambulances.
Emphasizing the critical nature of bolstering the ambulance fleet to ensure comprehensive coverage for the entirety of St. Kitts. In addition to the ambulance update, the Prime Minister shared meaningful progress within the Ministry of Health's emergency services. Notably, for the first time, a chaplain has been added to the hospital staff.
We think that spirituality and having access to prayer and so forth are also important with respect to the whole matter of recovery and well-being.
Furthermore, the government has expanded its emergency medical team by adding 9 new emergency medical technicians, EMTs, 12 paramedics, and an additional 7 EMTs, thereby strengthening the nation's emergency response infrastructure. Turning to financial matters, Dr. Drew provided a critical update concerning uncollected checks at the Treasury. He communicated that there remain uncertain Treasury checks and urged nationals to address any outstanding issues.
That if there's anyone who has any issue with the Treasury in terms of collecting checks, the Treasury is open, and the Treasury has uncollected checks and is continuously seeking to reach people, some of whom they cannot reach at this particular time.
The Prime Minister underscored the importance of public engagement with the Treasury.
I want to indicate to the people of this country that was put out by the government, and to please seek any redress with the Treasury, as it has to comply with what it has to comply with, irrespective of any other issue. So I just wanted to put that out there. And the Treasury, of course, is right here in the middle of Bastille. What is that street called? Central Street?
Central and
Central and the corner of Central and Church Street, to have any matters resolved.
The Prime Minister further acknowledged the challenges faced by Treasury officials in contacting individuals, encouraging anyone aware of outstanding issues to take prompt action. Minister of Civil Aviation, the Honourable Marsha Henderson, provided an update on the progress of a new terminal at the Robert L. Bradshaw International Airport and detailed ongoing efforts to boost tourism arrivals from the United Kingdom. Addressing questions about the airport expansion, Minister Henderson explained the structured progress behind the initiative.
I recall the last time we had a press conference, the question came in regards to the plans for the expansion of the airport. We discussed an additional terminal, and we have a technical team that's in place, provided for by the legislation. This falls under the ambit of the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. Their legislation provides scope for them to put a team in place, and that team is in place.
The minister highlighted the multidisciplinary nature of the committee established to oversee the project, noting the involvement of SCASPA officials, geotechnical and civil engineers, as well as legal experts.
The team comprises a number of experts, including those who serve as SCASPA, as well as the geotechnical engineers, civil engineers, attorneys, and others. After the initial discussions in terms of studies, feasibility studies, and other things, then consultation would continue, because it has started with stakeholders, those relevant to the process, including immigration, airlines, and all the others who are the authority think is relevant for the discussions.
Regarding the project's stage, she offered assurance that the process is progressing well.
We are still getting the information to help inform the concept, the design and concept. We are, I can say, maybe halfway through the process. They're making good strides, actually. I'm happy with the work being done by the committee and the experts that we've engaged.
Minister Henderson expressed the collaborative dynamic defining the development of the terminal.
The client is the authority, the St. Christopher Air and Seaports Authority. They are advising the team what they need within the new terminal, what the needs of the airport would be. And of course, this is in consultation with other stakeholders. And then we can come up with a concept and design. So we do have, we're about 50% along the way.
She noted the matter's significance was recently discussed at the cabinet level, reinforcing the government's dedication to seeing the project through. Turning from infrastructure to tourism outreach, Minister Henderson outlined the strategic push to increase arrivals from the United Kingdom market.
Our biggest source market is actually the US, and then it fluctuates between the Caribbean region and the UK in particular, not necessarily Europe, who would come in second, and then there's Canada in third place, and that sometimes alternates.
Particularly encouraging for the ministry has been the uptick in UK visitors who tend to stay longer than other tourists.
Interestingly, from the data we started collecting and the efforts we've put into the UK, the marketing efforts, we've seen an uptick in visitors coming from the UK. And we're seeing them coming for longer stays. So for the recent music festival, a lot of them were here for 7 to 10 days. And that's usually how they holiday. And so we have to tailor our product to accommodate the needs of that market.
Minister Henderson also noted that significant financial resources have been dedicated to marketing efforts across various source markets, particularly in the UK.
We've been pumping monies. We've been asking. I'm sure when you're paying attention, Mr. Bat, when we do the budget debates in December, you see how much we ask for marketing. And so we've been pumping a lot of our resources into marketing, into other source markets. That is the only way we're going to stimulate demand, and then carriers would then be interested. But carriers don't want to come with empty flights. So there's a process. The process is stimulate the demand for the destination by looking at your services and your offerings. And so we've been doing that.
Minister Henderson shared insights on how the tourism products must align with visitor expectations, citing differences between American and British tourists.
Working with our stakeholders, because sometimes even the taxi men would complain they're not taking the tours, but you must be conscious in what your visitors are looking for. The American visitors look for a different experience to the British visitors. And so it is a process. And during the vacation, the shoulder period right now, we're working with stakeholders to inform them of the trends. A lot of them who are coming at they're looking for the eco adventure. They're looking for not the party type, the Americans like that, but the British look for something else. So we continue our efforts to look at our product, at our offerings and our services, and then we market.
Regarding airline partnerships, the minister confirmed ongoing engagement with multiple carriers to expand service routes.
We now have to go back to our partners as the carriers, and maybe not just British Airways. We've been approaching other carriers as well to look at coming into the destination and offering routes here as well. And, from whether it's from the American, whether it's from the US or directly nonstop from the UK. So we are doing that. We've actually engaged. We're in discussions with someone who's going to be marketing the destination with us in that area.
She further pointed out the global nature of the marketing strategy.
We have our marketing teams worldwide. We have a team here at base, and we have marketing teams in the US, in London, and wherever else we deem necessary. But we've increased our efforts within the UK, and we're hopeful to see the returns on that as well.
The Twin Island Federation continues to demonstrate a firm commitment to improving its aviation infrastructure and diversifying tourism source markets. Moves expected to bolster economic growth and position St. Kitts and Nevis as a top Caribbean destination. In a recent town hall meeting, the Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, detailed critical measures being undertaken by his administration to bolster small businesses on the island of Nevis. The initiatives, particularly aimed at empowering underserved demographics, signal a continued focus on economic resilience and local entrepreneurship. Prime Minister Brantley addressed questions about government efforts, spotlighting a $5 million loan program developed in partnership with the government of Taiwan. This initiative, launched during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, remains a vital tool for promoting microbusiness development.
We have been trying various strategies to encourage small business, to promote small business.
The $5 million, he noted, is specifically earmarked for youth and women entrepreneurs, two groups that have historically encountered significant obstacles in obtaining funding through traditional banking systems.
So let us, for example, imagine that you are a youngster, you're 22 years old. You have a brilliant idea for a business, but guess what? If you went to a bank in Charlestown, they want life insurance, they want a detailed business plan, they want collateral, they want you to put up a piece of land or something for the loan, they want to know what your income stream is going to be, they may want a guarantor for the loan, and a lot of young people just couldn't manage that.
He further illustrated the difficulties faced by women entrepreneurs.
If you're a woman, you know how to cook well, you can hear well, you have a skill that you want to market and to monetize.
This financial support mechanism offers loans of up to $100,000 at an affordable interest rate of just 3%, the lowest available in the Federation. The government designed the program with sustainability in mind, creating a revolving fund where payments pave the way for new assistance.
The idea really is to create a revolving fund so that as monies are lent and repaid, other people can be assisted.
This system provides much needed breathing space for small businesses that often struggle to secure capital through conventional banking avenues. Beyond financial assistance, Premier Brantley highlighted the ongoing government commitment to capacity building for small business owners. He pointed to a series of training initiatives focusing on best business practices, including bookkeeping, management, and customer service.
We have had an ongoing effort at training and inculcating in our people, particularly our small business owners, best business practices, bookkeeping, how it is they ought to manage, customer service. All of these are factors. I myself have had the privilege of speaking at a few of these seminars. So we have had a continuous process of training and retraining in terms of business.
Such continuous education aims to ensure that small entrepreneurs not only survive but thrive in a competitive market environment. Complementing these efforts, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Premier, Wakely Daniel, provided an update on the accessibility of skills certificates for Nevisians, an important credential facilitating employment opportunities within the Caribbean single market and economy. However, he lamented the relatively low uptake of this program among the people of Nevis.
One of the problems that we have, though, is that even though we advertise it, even though we go on the radio, television, and we speak about it, and we try to put it out there, we find that a lot of Nevisians are not accessing or applying for skill certificate. For some reason, I think that's perhaps they think that, I am working and I will remain in Nevis for the rest of my life.
Daniel encouraged more divisions to pursue the skills certificate, highlighting its accessibility for a wide range of qualifications.
And you do have one or two of them that are doing it, but anyone, once you meet the standard, which is up to, let's say, a sixth form college, if you go to the sixth form college, you can get your skills certificate. If you are, for example, you have a degree, you can get your skills certificate. Or if you find yourself in certain jobs and you have training up to a certain level, you can get your skills certificate.
He also outlined the straightforward application process, pointing to the Labor Department as the local point of contact.
As a matter of fact, you can go to the Labor Department and they have a form there that you will fill out the form. The form will then go to St. Kitts to the trade office in St. Kitts, and then of course we'll take it from there. We'll have the committee meeting, and then we'll get back to you whether or not your application was successful.
The Premier and the Permanent Secretary both underscore the importance of these programs in enhancing the island's economic development and individual empowerment. The combination of financial support for small businesses and the promotion of skills certification aims to create a more inclusive and robust economic landscape for Navisians, particularly the youth and women who stand to gain significantly from these targeted efforts.
In regional news,
the best of the best in Eastern Caribbean boxing will battle it out during the OECS Boxing Championship 2025. The 111th meeting of the Monetary Council of the ECCB focused on monetary and credit conditions in the Eastern Caribbean. The Unleashing the Blue Economy of the Caribbean, or UBEC, hosts grant information sessions in Grenada to boost blue economy MSMEs. The OECS Boxing Championship 2025 is coming to Rodney Bay Pavilion in St. Lucia. The championship is organized by the St. Lucia Boxing Association in partnership with the OECS Commission, supported by the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. Leading up to the boxing match, the OECS Commission hosted a press conference which was held at Bay Gardens Marina Haven on July 24, 2025. The OECS Invitational Boxing Match Championship will be held on August 1 to August 3, 2025 at 7 p.m. nightly. See further details in this video.
This is actually more than boxing. It's more than a sporting event for us. We see this as really a bold statement of regional ambition and collective purpose. You heard reference to a coalition and so forth, but yes, it is truly a collective purpose. And again, the commitment of the OECS, as I said, to put youth at the center of regional development, not only as athletes, but as our future leaders, as our change makers, and as our community builders. So through this championship, we are showcasing what it means to really invest in the social capital of our region by creating what we see as a safe, structured spaces where our young people can really thrive.
The real driving force behind this event, the second annual OECS boxing tournament, we have the OECS commissioners driving this. We really want to say our heartful thanks for you, lovely Ms. Sajid Singh, and the whole family of the OECS Commission, the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, who come on board and giving us some good vibes, and even preparing us for even bigger things down the road. You may see international bouts coming here sooner or later. We have the Olympic Committee who's supporting us every year because we're a member of the Olympic Committee and they would support our program. We have the National Lottery in the Ministry of Youth and Sports who's there with us 24/7 to make sure the program going, because the school program belongs to the National Lottery, the Ministry of Sports, and they filter this where it is our feeder belt from the youth program, the school program, and then they graduate into the national and then graduate into elite and get to the next level. So our feeding base is really the school programs from all the various schools.
The 111th meeting of the Monetary Council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, or ECCB, was held under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance in Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown. The presentation of the communique of the Monetary Council of the ECCB focused on monetary and credit conditions in the Eastern Caribbean.
Meeting discussed the issue of monetary stability and received the governor's report on monetary credit and financial conditions within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The report provided global and Eastern Caribbean Currency Union updates on monetary, credit, and financial conditions and assessed their potential impact in the near to medium term. The governor indicated that the global economic environment has become considerably more uncertain, and against the backdrop of an anticipated decrease in global trade, the IMF has actually trimmed the projections for 2025 global economic growth to 2.8%. In the case of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, we are projecting a growth rate of about 3.5%, Governor. And in September of this year, we will be doing a further assessment, and if there are no further geopolitical pressures and other threats, then perhaps there could be an uptick in the projection. We are eternal optimists. The others who may think that perhaps things will get worse, but we have to remain very hopeful and to continue to press for strong growth. And this is certainly in keeping with the big push as announced by Governor Antoine. In fact, our aspiration within the OECS Currency Union is to preside over growth rates of at least 7% in order to double our respective economies within the next 10 years. And we are hoping that we could get at least 10 years of economic stability with strong growth in order to ensure that our countries become more resilient and that we can provide resilient prosperity for the people of the OECS Currency Union, or Eastern Caribbean Currency Union.
For the full session, please go to the ECCB YouTube channel or Facebook page. The OECS Commission, through the Unleashing the Blue Economy of the Caribbean, or UBEC project, is pleased to announce 2 upcoming information sessions in Grenada. The information sessions are designed to help micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises boost their fisheries, marine tourism, and waste management sectors in the blue economy. Participants of the information sessions will learn more about the Regional MSME Matching Grants Program, which assists blue economy MSMEs in Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines grow their businesses. The information sessions also offer business development services, which contain training in financial management, marketing, and export readiness. The first session will be in person and held on Tuesday, July 29, 2025, at the Madonna Harford Conference Room, Grenada Public Workers Union, Tantine, St. George's in Grenada. The second session will be held virtually via the Zoom platform on Thursday, July 31st, 2025. For more information on the information sessions, please go to our newsroom at www.oecs.int or our social media platforms.
We now bring you these international reports.
As the ceasefire was announced in Malaysia, the skies opened along the border between Thailand and Cambodia. 5 days of stifling heat and tension. Finally, some relief. Displaced people from the border areas, anxious to hear the news as it started to spread around the hall.
I'm happy. I'm really happy. I never wanted this to happen. It's been such a struggle.
I can go home now. I worry about people back there. I've wanted to go for several days, but I need the army to clear the area first.
It was a very different mood earlier in the day. At Buriram's international MotoGP track, 20,000 people have been packed in since fighting began. Conditions are basic. There's plenty of food and things to do, but those forced away from their villages just want to go back.
I want to go home. They are looking after us, but I still want to go back.
Cambodians living in Thailand are making the same decision. There used to be more than 1 million. Tens of thousands have fled through the last remaining border crossing every day. Attacks on Cambodians have been so common, the Thai police have issued warnings that offenders will be punished to the full extent of the law. Sawn Chani had worked and lived in Thailand for more than a decade, but fears of reprisals have sent her back home.
I worked in Thailand for many years. I was able to pay my microfinance loan because I worked in Thailand. But when the war started, I decided to come back to Cambodia to find work.
Earlier on Monday, before the news of the ceasefire, as the two leaders met, peace seemed a long way away.
We were at a centre in the town of Buriram, where one woman we spoke to, when we asked how she was feeling, she just burst into tears. It has impacted people hugely. They just, at this stage, want to get home, and this ceasefire announcement should allow them to do it.
The guns should stop at midnight, and in the next 24 hours, the people will return. But this is a conflict that's opened wounds that'll take much longer to heal. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, Surin, on the Thai-Cambodian border.
Mostly built 84,000 square foot recreation center close to Mobile, Alabama, had been on track for an on-time completion by November 1st. But the construction site's superintendent says he is now looking at a 3-week delay after about half of his workers stayed home for days out of fear of being arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
This particular job here is a huge job for the community. Well, the community's going to miss out if we can't get it finished.
Superintendent Robbie Robertson, who chose to conceal his face, told Reuters that it was a recent ICE raid on a job site in Florida, more than 200 miles away, that spooked his staff.
I know that we have lost a lot of our workers because of their hearing about these raids. We have got some of them back, but we're now about half capacity, which basically hurts our work production.
Immigration raids on building sites, part of an expanding crackdown by President Donald Trump on work sites across the country, are causing major disruptions to the construction industry, according to Reuters interviews. Robertson said his company faces a $4,000 penalty for every day it runs past its November 1st deadline, already a potential cost of $84,000.
And those raids happen a good bit away from here. There's a lot of closer jobs than this one, so I know they're all being affected as well.
About 1.4 million of the roughly 11 million people in the U.S. illegally work in construction, more than any other industry. That's according to the Migration Policy Institute, a nonpartisan think tank. And construction industry leaders say those workers are hard to replace with native-born Americans because most don't have the skills.
They're willing to do it. The Hispanic descent, they basically are stepping up and will do some of the hard work. But I am a Trump supporter, like I said, and I do think there is a way to go about doing this, but I just don't think the raids is the answer.
A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security said ICE raids have helped combat dangerous activities such as labor trafficking and exploitation. Robertson said his company and its subcontractors already verified that workers are in the country legally through the government's E-Verify program, a widely used online system which checks employment eligibility. Meanwhile, the deportation push is beginning to affect public opinion. Trump's approval rating on immigration fell to 41% in a Reuters Ipsos poll this month, the lowest since his return to the White House.
Industrial stocks are outperforming the broader markets, but for how long? This is Sectors Up Close, and we're talking about industrials. As stocks have ripped higher from the depths of the tariff sell-off in early April, an unlikely group has climbed to the top of the S&P 500's leaderboards. Industrial companies have gained 15% so far in 2025, more than double the gain of the overall index. Tariff tensions may have eased, at least for now, but the spectre of an economic recession still looms. So, should traders keep buying American-made? John Stolfus is Chief Market Strategist at Oppenheimer Asset Management. So, John, the S&P Global Manufacturing PMI slid the most in 3 years in July. That marks the first contraction since December. Will the production slowdown hit industrial stocks?
Well, we can't help but think that most likely what you will feel within the market is a certain, within it is a consideration of that pause. But, you know, the manufacturing PMI has been all over the place over the course of the last few years. Generally speaking, manufacturing, trails services in the U.S. economy as a result of the way it's about 70% consumers and it's very little in manufacturing. In fact, that's what this whole trade business is about. We would think that the intermediate to longer term, the 3, 5, 7 years out for industrials looks remarkably good because of all the different types of equipment that are manufactured within industrials.
Well, let's look closer at aerospace and defence stocks. They've been boosted by the heightened geopolitical tensions. Could that momentum end if conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East settle?
We think that aspect of it, but there's a generational change occurring within the defense industry that has really changed the battlefield, wherein it replaces troops or boots on the ground, so to speak, to great extent, by things such as drones and lasers and all types of things like that. Really, very much, in the old days, they used to talk about Star Wars and then applied it to defense. Well, this is about 20, 25, 30 years later. And here we are, this is really, the future is here. It's back to the future in essence. And so we can't help but think that defense stocks, just because of the change in terms of what the military uses to, with greater efficiency, take care of its missions without posing risk to its troops, this looks like a remarkable period.
Meanwhile, President Trump is readying plans for industry-specific tariffs to kick in at the end of this week. That includes copper, lumber and critical minerals. Will industrial companies be able to change their supply chains before those shortages start to appear?
It depends upon the operator involved, where they are currently sourcing from, where their operations in terms of mining, refining, and shipment, all that kind of thing. And what we would expect is the workaround here. So you'll want to look for the sources that have the best opportunity to work around how they will best be able to offset the pressure that the tariffs put on their production, revenue, and sales. So what we'd have to think here is much like any other business. It appears to us to be very much within this space a stock picker's market.
Also, higher semiconductor tariffs are on the horizon. Who's the most at risk?
We can't help but think this will be less of a problem than many expect, but it will still be a challenge. And for investors, once again, consider the company, consider the management, the location, the tariff regime involved, and then the need for the product, and then how can the tariff be spread among importer, exporter, and the ultimate consumer or the business that buys the product. There's a lot of ways to work through these that on the surface may look absolutely intolerable to deal with, that actually call for a very manageable story and likely very rewarding to the companies that know the workaround.
So finally, John, Oppenheimer have updated their call. They're seeing the S&P 500 a third consecutive year of 20% gains, a feat unseen since the late 1990s. Will industrials continue to lead the way?
We are entering an age in which industrials are going through a revolutionary, a watershed process as a result of AI across the board. It's not that AI has not already been in existence there, but the advanced AI, the contemporary AI, all of that coming in here gives us the idea that industrials have certainly come of age, as they haven't for many years. The old analog industrial age, they were big, and then they were relatively forgotten by investors for long periods of time in terms of relative performance. But right now, they are sharing center stage, and it's important to note that might be something that lasts for longer than many might expect.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew provides critical update on health services and treasury matters. St. Kitts and Nevis advances airport expansion and tourism outreach to the United Kingdom. Nevis government advances small business support efforts. Internationally, Thai-Cambodian ceasefire offers hope, but wounds from conflict remain.
Thank you for listening.